Hello and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Thursday Thoughts? What on earth are they, I hear you ask? Well, my friend Lucy and I meet every week over on Instagram to talk all things personal growth because she is as obsessed with it as I am. And we decided that we might as well put those conversations out as a weekly podcast. So now you can listen to us chat here on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll be talking about topics such as spirituality, limiting beliefs, the ego, imposter syndrome, gratitude, meditation, confidence, and so much more. So if you're ready, here we go. So today,
Yeah, do you want to explain? Because
well,
this one was your idea.
well, I was actually listening to something, and it was really just making me reflect on just showing up, knowing yourself, because I think, this sort, I mean, and I sort of said, like, let's talk about, how knowing ourselves and understanding ourselves better. And you kind of came back and said, yeah, let's talk about maybe being authenticity. And I suppose it's all under the same umbrella. Personally, I feel like I've spent majority of my life living a life not truly knowing who I am, what my soul essence is, what my real, who the person I am is. And instead I've been almost trying to fit in to other groups of people so that I could feel like that I belong, that I love, trying to fit in, trying to be liked and all of that sort of thing, rather than actually having this true sense, this true knowing of, oh, this is who I am. This is my true nature, my essence. And actually that is more than enough. And once you have a good understanding of who you are, you stop caring about having to fit in with this group or that group, or you don't feel like that real need constantly to want to fit in, because you're accepting who you are. You're so you're fine with who you are. I wish I had known this earlier in my life, because I think it's because of social conditioning. It could be from your childhood, it could be from all those insecurities that you carry, that you don't really like who you are, you don't really know. But I think it's more that you don't really know, you haven't got an appreciation for your true nature, your true essence. And I think as I've got older, so I think age and wisdom is a great part of this. It kind of really can really help you know who you are. But I also think there are some really important tools and techniques as we go through life, which can really help you understand who you are. And most of those tools and techniques, I think, for me, it's all about going inwards and discovering your true essence, because we're all so unique. We are all so unique. And when I facilitate breathwork sessions, so often, this is what I always come back to at the end, when we're kind of just in it. It's like really connecting with your essence, and understanding that and accepting that is who you are. And actually everybody has their own uniqueness and their own magic and their own brilliance. And when we can really accept that and feel into that and just be that and put that into the world, that really is when life feels so much more flowy and easy and joyful and all the things. And we can stop all the bullshit of worrying about fitting into this group, fitting into that group. It's the am I enoughness, not feeling like you're enough. I think that's it. I'm not really enough. But when you can connect with your true being and be truly authentic with that, you know that you are enough, because that's just the way it is. Does this make any sense
Oh my God,
whatsoever?
Holly, I love this topic so much. Like, I'm obsessed with this topic. I just think that it's so interesting and it's so important to have this conversation because, like you, I spent most of my life trying to fit in to that box or fit in with that group, and also really kind of toning down who I actually am. Like, there are things about my personality that a lot of people would describe as quote unquote too much. Like, I'm too enthusiastic, I get too passionate, I get too this or too that. And I used to dumb myself down so much. And ultimately it then you end up, you're because you're trying to belong to everybody else, you end up just not belonging to yourself any longer. And the one thing I want to say about this subject is that when you are being authentically you, like really truly you, like unapologetically who the fuck you actually are, what happens with that is that you are going to be, to some people you are going to repel them, and to some people you are going to magnetize them, and that is okay. I did a mini-sode once on the podcast about people not liking you, and as you and I know damn well from having done a podcast for a couple of years now, you have to just you have to be okay with some people not liking you, and realize that, like you were saying just now, we are totally unique. We are all unique. And whoever you are, there are always going to be people that are your people and people who aren't. But if we're trying to dumb ourselves down to fit in with a particular group of people, then we're just going to end up not belonging to ourselves. But I really, really do love this, because apart from anything else, when you sort of make the decision to just embrace every single part of you, not only is it really, really, really freeing, it also starts bringing the people into your life who are meant to be there. Like when I think back to kind of school days, God, I mean, at school, we're all trying to fit in, aren't we? And I think back to school days and like how I was just so desperately insecure, and I so wanted to be like this, or I wanted to be like that. And I absolutely felt like I wasn't enough, and I wasn't bright enough, and I wasn't funny enough, and I wasn't cool enough, and all of this stuff. And I constantly felt like I was sort of on the outside looking in, and I didn't quite fit in. And of course, now I realize it's just that those people who I was hanging around, not all of them, because I still have a couple of very, very good girlfriends from school days, but the vast majority of them just simply weren't my people. And it's only in showing up completely authentically that the people who are meant to be in your life start coming into your life. And I know that sounds quite weird, but I really do believe that to be the case. But yeah, it does. Am I making sense now?
Yeah, totally. And actually, there's so Beat Baby's just written something here. So isn't this just about having the right friendships? This takes time and life experience. And yes, I totally agree with that. In that, yes, having the right friendships is really important. But I think also you can only cultivate the right friendships when you have a really good understanding, or when you accept yourself.
Yeah,
If you're moving through life not accepting all parts of you, and with insecurities and beliefs about yourself which aren't helpful, then actually to cultivate those relationships is going to be really, really hard. So I feel that in order to have the relationships which are really good and deep and authentic and make you feel good, you've got to know, like, accept all parts of you. And I think that's the big piece. We all have so many parts of us, and can you look in the mirror, for example, and just truly look at yourself and like what you see? Or are you constantly going, oh my God, I hate this about me, I hate this about me? And we all do that to some extent. But actually, the more we can fully really look at ourselves, like ourselves, accept every part of ourselves, and just show up as ourselves, as you said, Lucy, you attract the people who you're meant to
yeah,
attract in your life.
yeah.
And yes, you can have friendships throughout your life. Well, gosh, friendships is a whole different topic, isn't it? But your friends also, a true friend really, again, should accept you for every part of you.
A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's what a true friend does. They will like every part of you and accept you, that you've got your good bits and your bad bits. But I think in terms of how we are responsible for showing up ourselves, I think you've just got to do the work and actually understand yourself better. So,
Yeah.
for example, I always had this label that I was really, really shy. And, you know, I really did not like it being spoken to in big groups. You know, I would kind of really retreat. I used to go bright red. And yet I would still put myself in situations, well, I still have to be in situations where I would, you know, I was out in big groups and I really hated it and couldn't understand why I was constantly getting so exhausted and, you know, and I was just kind of feeling like I needed to be out with lots of different people all the time. And it was only when I understood about myself that actually I'm actually a real introvert. I didn't realize that about myself. And I suddenly was like, oh, actually, I like being with people, but when I'm with people, I actually really, really, really need then time to myself to kind of recharge, really resource myself, and so that I can show up and not get that complete feeling of being exhausted and drained. If I had known that many years before, that would have been so helpful in my life because I was like, oh, okay, that's why I'm feeling so insecure. That's why I'm feeling so tired. Is because actually I like being with people, but I also need to have time to myself. Things like just, you know, knowing when I went to San Diego for that breathwork retreat, that was when I did this incredible breathwork session. That was when I had this incredible moment of total clarity of what my essence is like. And I think, and I've kind of I kind of knew what it was, but it's like only when you really go inwards and you unlayer all the crap that we carry, that you can really get a real feeling of it. And it just felt so pure and lovely. And it was just like this knowing. And I think whenever now I do any sort of meditation or anything, I just always come back to that because I kind of have this knowing that that is who I am. And if I'm having a wobbly moment before I'm going to do something which is a bit scary or a bit, you know, I'm feeling a bit like, actually, I just need to come back to that knowing inside me. It's like, oh, this is who I am. And actually, that is why I'm here. That is good enough.
I find this all incredibly interesting. One thing I was going to say is that I think one of the most difficult things about showing up authentically, showing up as who you truly, truly, truly are, you know, like really, really, truly, is that we are all so terrified of being different. And because, you know, you said at the very beginning of this, we all want to belong. And ultimately that, you know, that is one of our most primal needs, is to belong. So it is incredibly difficult, or it can be incredibly difficult, to have the courage, essentially, to be different. And, you know, I think that is a whole thing. And it's certainly something that I've worked on over the last few years, is an acceptance of being different to, you know, perhaps certain people that you've known all your life, or whoever it may be. But I think being authentic is, you definitely have to have courage to step into that authentic version of you, because we are just, you know, we've spent our lives, and this is kind of going off on a bit of a tangent, but we've spent our lives conforming in so many ways, you know. I mean, hello, Miss Single Child Free over here. Do you know what I mean? There's a classic example of what I could have done and was tempted to do, you know, years ago in various long-term relationships, well, long-ish term relationships, long for me anyway. You know, there was a temptation to stay with a boyfriend who I knew that I wasn't actually in love with, and I knew that I didn't actually want to be with. But there was a temptation to just go, oh, do you know what? He's fine. Settle for someone who wasn't enough for me, just for the sake of, you know, getting married and having babies like everybody else did, because that was the norm, because that's what we're expected to do. And but that wouldn't have been me being true to myself. And that was hard. So, you know, it can be incredibly difficult to not conform, and sometimes being authentic does mean not conforming. And, you know, in the world of the single and child free, I mean, we're swimming against the frickin' tide, there is no doubt about it. And that can be hard. But I think what you also have to realize is that there are plenty of other people out there doing the exact same thing. And so much of this is about finding, you know, someone that made the comment earlier about just finding the right, I can't remember what she said, about having the right friendships. Well, it is incredibly important to find your tribe, to find those people who you are really, really, really able to be completely yourself around. And I know that, I have various friends in my life who've come from different periods in my life. I don't have like one group of friends who we all hang out together and da 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 da. I have lots of different friends from different periods in my life. And the interesting thing is, and I'm sure people can relate to this, the interesting thing is that I'm a little bit different with every single one of those friends. That doesn't mean that I'm being inauthentic. It just means that different people bring out different parts of you, and different people you end up on it. Like, there are some friends who you're more serious with, there are some friends who you're more kind of jokey with, there are some friends who you talk to about your issues and all the rest of it. I can't remember where I was going with this at all, but anyway, I think it is so important to surround yourself with people who you absolutely feel you can be yourself with. And if you feel like you're trying to fit in, then you're not with the right fucking people. It's as simple as that. And this is something that, you and I have talked a lot about. I am obsessive about this. I've talked about it so much on the podcast, how unbelievably important and impactful it is who you surround yourself with. And I used to spend time with people who simply didn't make me feel good about myself. And the reason they didn't make me feel good about myself was because I wasn't able to be my authentic self around them. It was as simple as that. So you have to listen to your body. You have to listen to your emotions. Like, when you come away from someone, how do you actually feel? Where is your energy? Do you feel depleted, or do you feel uplifted? Because the people that you want in your life are the people who make you feel, who have your back and who make you feel good and who lift you up. Like you and I, whenever you and I have a conversation, I mean, maybe you come off feeling like, fucking hell, I couldn't wait to get the bloody phone to her. But the way that I feel about our conversations is that even if one of us is having a massive old rant about something, or, we're struggling with something, I always feel with you, I come off the phone and I feel uplifted, even if the conversation has been quite serious, because I know that with you, I'm completely myself. And going back to what one of us said earlier, the thing about this is that it's so incredibly freeing to be able to just be you, and to realize that, yes, there are going to be some people, like, I'm quite sure there are some people who will watch me on this live and go, oh my God, who the hell is that irritating woman? I can't bear her. I'm sure there are people who listen to the podcast and turn it off because they're like, oh my God, this woman just does my fucking head and I can't stand her. But that's just that, nobody is liked by everyone. That is just not possible. It's just not how it works. So we just have to understand that the more we show up in our true authenticity, the more people who are meant to be in our world are going to arrive in our world. And that ultimately is all that matters. It doesn't matter about the other people. And also, people are far too busy worrying about their own shit to be worrying about what you're doing. And that's something I tell myself a lot on repeat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Jess has written, which is just absolutely true. Acceptance is definitely the key. Sometimes we spend too much time trying to improve and change ourselves, but really what we need to do is accept ourselves for the fabulous people we are.
100%,
and that's that is exactly it. And I think that's what I was doing for so long, is I just wasn't accepting who I was. I was embarrassed, and I hate to say it, I was actually quite ashamed of some of who I was and where I came from, of the car my dad drove. I used to make him park down the drive, and it wasn't because it was a shit car, it was because it was a really bloody nice car. And I felt really embarrassed by that I stood out, I didn't fit in. I look at that now and going, but how ridiculous is that? It was kind of almost being ashamed of who I was and where I'd come from. And but again, by trying to fit into certain groups of people where that might not, that kind of stands out. And it's just, it was only really when I got to that place of acceptance of like, this is who I am, all of me. And so if you don't like it, that's fine. And if you're going to be rude about it, I'm actually strong enough to just go, actually, I don't care. But that can be hard. As you said, you've got to really make sure you know yourself really, really well in order to be able to take any sort of criticism or comment about who you fundamentally are, because otherwise, it can really affect you negatively.
Completely.
So it's just kind of really getting back to that, acceptable parts of you, understand some of those triggers. If someone does say something to you which triggers you about, then just that's kind of an opportunity to get a bit curious and go, oh, that's interesting. Why is that triggering me so much? And it will probably be for some sort of outdated belief which you've been carrying around with you. And that's why those sometimes to be triggered is a real gift, because it will help you to highlight some of those beliefs which you probably didn't even know you were carrying, and go, oh my God, is that actually true to this day? Maybe it was true when you were 7 years old, but actually, is it true now? And does anyone really care? And quite often it's like, no, it's not.
Totally. One other thing, Polly, that's just occurred to me is that also we have got to be honest with ourselves about the things that we actually enjoy, because I thought of this when you talked about the introvert thing, because I am also an introvert. I'm actually a massive introvert, but I'm what is called an extroverted introvert. So when I'm with people, I'm very loud, and you would never assume that I was an introvert. And I remember when I first told my mum I was an introvert. When I first sort of declared to my mum that I was an introvert, she was like, "Don't be so ridiculous, darling." I was like, "Actually, I am," because. And again, you said, you wish you'd known that years ago, and same here, because I remember in my 20s that I was in a flat share with one of my very best oldest girlfriends, who I still is one of my best oldest girlfriends, and I love her to absolute pieces. She is a total extrovert, and long story short, we lived together, and she had a boyfriend who is now her husband, and during that time, they always used to have people coming over to our flat. And I would sort of like go and hide in another room. And I felt like I was being a freak. I felt like I was some kind of weirdo, because I just didn't always want to hang out with these groups of people. And what it left me with was that, oh my God, what's wrong with me? And then I like sort of through my 30s, I started thinking, oh my God, maybe I'm just like a real loner. And, what am I, just a complete weirdo here? And what I realized subsequently is that I'm just a total introvert. And yes, admittedly, an extroverted introvert, but in exactly the same way as you, I absolutely need so much time. One of the great benefits of being single and not having kids, if you happen to be an introvert, I mean, it's awesome. Those things totally go together. I need so much time to myself. And when I've spent time with people, I absolutely, like you, need time to recharge my batteries on my own. Whereas extroverts, they get their energy from other people. And going back to my point about how we need to work out and be honest with ourselves about what we actually enjoy doing, and be honest with ourselves about how we want to spend our time. Because I tell you for free, when I am my happiest is when I am on my own at home with my cat. And I don't mean I'm sitting around, because I never sit around doing nothing or, watching TV. I don't even have a TV. But I love being at home, working on various things that I'm working on, whether that be the podcast or whatever else it might be. I am at my happiest when I'm walking in nature, listening to a podcast on my own. So given the choice between a glamorous party where I've got to get dressed up on a Saturday night and go out, and a night in, oh my God, I will take the night in every single time. That isn't to say that I don't do those things. That isn't to say that I don't see my friends and see my family and spend time with them. And obviously I do. But I've got really honest with myself and other people in the last how many years with the fact that, I'm not a party girl who wants to go out till 2 o'clock in the morning. I just don't. I want to go to bed early, so I can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go and see a sunrise when no one else is up, because that is what makes me happy. That is my authentic truth. That is who I really, truly fucking am. And when I was in my 20s and 30s, I fought against that so hard, because, when you're in your 20s and 30s, it's like, oh, come on, God, you're so boring and you don't want to do this. So I ended up thinking that I was like really boring, or because I didn't want to kind of go out partying all the time. And actually, I've realized that it's nothing to do with being boring. It's just that what makes me happy is different to what makes some other people happy. But that's my truth, and I'm not going to deny it anymore.
Yeah. As an introvert myself, I do actually like to go out partying I really do like to go dancing and but one so yeah it's so nuanced
Yeah.
what we it's just knowing yourself, but so I'll go and love to do that, but then I know that I've actually then got to resource myself and get quiet after I've done something like that. But yeah, it's just really understanding what makes you tick, and
Yeah.
that's why something like journaling is so brilliant, because it can really help you understand yourself. And it's just listening to those things when you're feeling off. It's just a bit of an understanding of like, what is it which is making me feel off? Yeah, it's just following what feels good, as what we always say, following what feels good. When are you sort of feeling like in flow? When are you feeling resourced? When are you just being true to yourself? What are the situations when you suddenly find yourself doing something you really don't want to be doing, or just thinking, oh my gosh, yeah, you're just feeling not appreciated, or that's
Not
when,
yourself,
or
just not
just not yourself.
yourself.
Exactly. Yes. What's the other comment? Can you read it? Because
Yeah,
I can't read very well. I've got my
as a
glasses.
dyslexic mum, I agree. Recharge time is so key. Family time, I scuttle to my bed after lunch for 20 minutes peace. So important to share so others know that what we truly need is okay. 100%. That is absolutely it. It is okay to be completely you, whatever that looks like. And that is, I think that is the kind of takeaway from this episode. Well, it is an episode on the podcast, isn't it? This is the takeaway, is that it is okay to be you, however that looks, whether you are a party girl or not a party girl, whether you like going for walks in nature, or you like doing, going shopping on Oxford Street, or whatever. That's, I don't know, ridiculous example. I don't know where the hell that came from. I just pulled it out of my something. But yeah, it's just that knowing that whatever is right for you is right. And the people who come into your life, the people that you attract, you're going to attract the right people into your life by being the most authentic version of you, because that's just how it works. There's another comment. I'm okay with my own company, but I like to feel connected. As an adult orphan and child free, it's important for me to have connections with my friends in my week. Absolutely. And may I just say that despite the fact that I've just shared that I'm a total introvert, that doesn't mean that I don't need connection. I absolutely do. But I think connection can look like a lot of different things. Connection can look like this, what you and I are doing now. We're not in the same room, but we're on, I need to Zoom, we're on Instagram Live, we're connecting with each other and with other people. And that is a kind of a valid connection. So I totally, being introverted doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need connection. But yeah, I get that, especially when you're, as you say, an adult orphan and don't have kids. So thank you for sharing that comment.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who's commented, and it was really nice to hear from people. And yeah, you can catch these lives on both of our podcasts on Thursdays, which is great. Actually, it's really nice that actually these conversations are getting listened to elsewhere as well. So
Totally.
yeah, I think you summed it up beautifully. I think the overriding message is that it's okay to be you, and it's about just really feeling comfortable being you. So
completely.
yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for showing up and listening, if you're listening on the podcast. And God knows what Polly and I'll talk about next week. In fact, I've got two ideas off the back of this, which I'm going to message you after. Oh, where did those balloons come from?
Brilliant. All right, Lucy. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Everybody.
Lots of love.
Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.